Welcome back, Amber.
Thank you.
It's a little after 12 and trying to be respectful of Julie's time and others. We will go ahead and get ourselves started here then. So the first thing is, I will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag
of the United States,
of America,
and to the
to republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. And I do have a prayer for us.
Invocation.
Invocation. Lord, give us the courage to change what we can, patience to accept that what we cannot, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now bless us for this coming week and those who have been harmed by the fire, and protect those who are fighting the fires for us. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. Introduction of guests. Julie Lyche is here, will be speaking with us, and other guests. Okay. All righty. In that case.
Hold on a minute, Earl. Amber Wilson is back. We should formally recognize her.
Who's that?
Amber Wilson is back. We should formally recognize her.
Here we go. Yes.
Amber, glad to have you back with Kiwanis.
A
Thank
standing
you, John. I
ovation.
appreciate it.
We're glad to have her here. Yes.
Happy to be back. Thank you.
Announcements. Any announcements? I have several. First of all, excuse me, my robocall just came in for lunchtime. There will be a dinner Tuesday night for the induction of new officers, and all are invited. So if you can come and feel comfortable, please do so. It will be a Juniper. It will start at 6:30. Dinner will be served at 6:30. If you wish to come beforehand to talk to one another or to visit the bar, that's up to you. But the dinner will start at 6:30.
Remember, it's also on Zoom too.
What's that?
It's also going to be on Zoom.
And it will be on Zoom. If you cannot come to the dinner, we will be Zooming this for those who feel that would be the most applicable way to do this. So please either join us at the Juniper or on Zoom. The dinner will be whatever you'd like. It's a prime rib dinner that night is what they normally have a special. And we're going to be charging, what, $20, John? Is that it?
If you order the prime rib, yeah, it's $17 plus a $3 gratuity.
Okay. But if you'd like something else, you can order off the menu for anything else that they might have. But what we would ask is that you contact Juniper and let them know before Monday morning, and let Carl or me know what you're ordering. Monday afternoon, I will be talking, or Monday before noon, I'll be talking with Juniper to let them know how many people are coming so they can have the right amounts of food. We'd like to get this out at 6:30 so we can start and be done and not have things drag on as it bring things in and out of the kitchen. So if you can do that, that would be great.
Question.
Yes.
I thought I read earlier your guidance was only to let you or Carl know, not to also let Juniper know. You just said go both ways.
Go both ways. If you don't want to do that, just contact Carl or I, because I will be contacting Juniper. One of the emails went out to contact Juniper, and I just don't want to have anybody missed in the process.
Okay.
So the safest thing to do is contact both of us. If you decide you don't want to do that, or it's something you forget, contact Carl or I, because I will use that as the master list to talk to Juniper. And if they have somebody else on it, so be it.
And that's not like voting twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want Yeah, we don't want you to go home with an extra dinner. Anything else on that? Okay. We are in the process now of starting the second collection of the food bags. If you need a food bag to fill up, we will be picking it up on October the 10th. Please let me know. I will be glad to bring you a bag. We will have a pickup most likely down at Veterans Park? I always get the wrong, Centennial Park?
Centennial.
Centennial, down there by the Chamber of Commerce, probably on Friday. Yeah, or I can come and get them from you if you so choose to want me to do that. But we really would like to encourage folks to consider taking a green bag, filling it up, and helping our food bank have more food for those people in our community. Are there any other announcements?
Hey, Earl, this is Penny. I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, who do we submit our volunteer hours to? I am behind on that, and I forgot to report time for the food project and a few other things.
That would be Carl.
All right, I will email you, Carl. Thank you.
Yes. Let Carl know one way or the other, you know, if you're the hours, and he'll be glad to record those. By the way, the lieutenant governors will be coming to the dinner on Tuesday. Both the past governor, Earl Schrader, and our new governor, Steve Imhoff, will be there. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, what you've been waiting for, I've got a joke for you today. Are you ready for this? It was really raining and pouring outside O'Connor's Irish pub. There, standing in front of a big puddle outside the pub, was an old Irishman, drenched, holding a stick with a piece of string dangling in the water. A passerby stopped and asked him, "What are you doing?" "Fishing," replied the old man. Feeling sorry for the old man, the gent says, "Come on in out of the rain, I'll have a drink on me." In the warm ambience of the pub, as they sipped their whiskeys, the gentleman, being a bit of a smart behind, cannot resist asking, "Well, how many have you caught today?" "You're the 8th, replied the man.
Right.
That's awesome.
Okay, having set the bar at a place, Amber, that should really be reached, we will now have Amber talk to us a little bit about FAN. I think that's an organization some of us might have heard of before. Is that right, Mr. Duff? Okay. All righty. So if you can give us a kind of a update on what's going on with that, we'll turn it over to you. Julie?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting us crash your Zoom today. My name is Julie Lyche, and I am the Executive Director of FAN, and I'm going to have our other two people introduce themselves to start.
Hi, I'm Mariana Freisinger, and I am the board member for our foundation board, and I cover the Redmond area.
Hi. Hi, I'm Deborah Peterson. I know several of you, and I'm so glad we're here today. Thank you. I do donor relations, events, and marketing for the FAN Foundation, and my FAN Foundation staff partner in crime is also here, Jen Enna.
Great.
I'm Jen. I am the development specialist, and this is actually my second week with the FAN Foundation. So I've been sitting in on presentations, board meetings, and excited to be part of the team.
So I'm not going to bore you with a long what is FAN. I think most of you know a lot. You guys have been incredibly supportive of FAN over the years in our work in Redmond. Today we wanted to just kind of give you updates since our last, the Vintners dinner, I feel like was kind of our last chance that we got to be able to get in front of you and talk about what we're doing. So We wanted to give you some updates. I'll talk later a little bit about COVID and what that looks like for our families and what it looks like for our fan advocates. But just to give you my elevator speech for those who don't know FAN that well, we're in the Central Oregon schools. We cover 62 school sites in Central Oregon schools. We have 26 fan advocates, and we help connect families to basic needs: food, shelter, clothing, utilities, those kinds of things, all to the end goal to break down barriers so kids can go to school every day and be successful. And so that really is our goal. What is it that we need to do to make sure that kids can go? And I say go to school. You know, today go to school means like walk into the next room maybe and sit at the kitchen table. So when I say go to school, I'm using that loosely these days, but how can we help kids be successful? And so that is kind of the quick overview of it. And I am going to just turn it over. We're going to kind of be going back and forth so you don't get bored of listening to one of our voices. And I'm just going to turn it over to Deb first.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again so much for all your community of Kiwanis members do for our Redmond kids. I mean, after the vintners dinner, that was $17,000. So we got to serve not only 170 kids with things like food, clothing, shelter. You know, at the end of the year, there was a lot of time spent making sure that kids are connected to internet and have everything they need at home, making sure that we're getting food to their homes if they need it. But that night really was just full of networking and outreach and getting to see old friends and meet new friends. And we've really spent time hanging out in Redmond, crossing our paths over and over. I mean, all of you are super involved. And I know that always you're helping students that FAN serves also, especially with things like scholarships and different opportunities. And then when the pandemic hit, I know you mobilized in so many different ways to serve the full community, and also joined in with the Rotary Clubs of Central Oregon and gave us funds toward that, which I believe was a whopping $2,000, which was one of the giant gifts that we got through that. And so we just love that you are supporting all of the Redmond community, and especially with the FAN mission. You know, our mission or our vision really is a community where children flourish and families thrive. And that really aligns with all of the Kiwanis mission. And so thank you very much. I'm really missing seeing your faces in person. And so this is quite a special time to be together. And I really loved that we got to have our Redmond luncheon last year. We'll talk more about that, but so many of you were there, and really just seeing the way that faces light up when we know that we're all working together toward the same goal is just really special to me. So thank you all very, very much. Mariana, did you want to share some facts and then we can bounce back? What do you think?
Yes, I would love to. I want to apologize ahead of time. They're doing some road construction, so if you hear a banging, it's not me, I promise. I am homeschooling, but I do love my children, so there's definitely no banging going on there. But just to share some facts for the FAN, more statistics of it, what happened last school year. So we do our statistic gathering based on the school year, so it goes from September through June. Last year alone, we served over 8,000 children and their family members in Central Oregon. Kind of to break it down, about 4,000 were related to the food items and food gatherings. Utilities, about 3,200 that needed help with utilities and heat over the winter months. And then other items, about 800 would include clothing, school supplies. So we definitely serve quite a variety of items that we needed for our families. For Redmond, so to specifically concentrate what we did in Redmond in the last school year, we served over 2,000 students and their family members. About 18,000 came from Redmond items donated, which would include clothing, schooling supplies, some code drives that we did or were done on our behalf, so we appreciate receiving them. And about 66,000 were in-kind assistance, which came from all of our local partners, which could be a church that helped us supply with rent monies or utilities, or St. Vincent will help us again with utilities and clothing. And Just in volunteer hours alone, we had over 226 volunteer hours from last school year, which is amazing, and we really appreciate that. I would say majority of our needs come in the first 2 quarters of the year, where the kids start gathering and start going to school. So we need the clothing, the supplies. Winter months, we definitely concentrate on warmer clothing and utilities. And, you know, throughout, meals are always needed. So we always need help with that. So we really appreciate everything you guys do for us. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're here, and yay, thank you.
Thanks, Mariana. I don't know about everyone else, but it totally sounded like she had a drum set in the background when she
I know, I'm sorry. This started today too. I'm like really out of all the days, but
so just to give you an update on what it looks like for FAN in Redmond this year. Hi, Michelle, you popped on late. It's nice to see you, our wonderful past board member. We have 8 FAN advocates in Redmond schools this year. A couple new things that I just wanted to talk about. Our FAN advocate at Hugh Hartman, which used to be RELC, Redmond Early Learning, and is now back to an elementary school. She's new. She started in the spring. Her name is Kelly Garcia. And so new name, new school name, as you all probably know. It's still as cute as can be over there. And it's a smaller school now, as they're going to start bringing more students on. And Kelly has been a wonderful addition to our team. The other new thing we have going on in Redmond is Redmond Proficiency Academy's needs have grown and grown. And so we now have a half-time FAN advocate serving students at Redmond Proficiency, the middle and the high school. So she has dedicated time there, whereas in the past we just had a FAN advocate that kind of went on call. Her job's a little trickier because she is serving Redmond students, but she's also serving students from the region that have been drawn in from other school districts. So she's going to be working a lot with our regional partners, but we're really excited just to have somebody with dedicated time to serve RPA as that student population has grown and grown. We're going to have time for questions at the end, but we've all been on Zoom so much. We're pretty savvy. So if you have questions you want to throw into the chat, we are happy to answer them as we go too. And then I wanted to talk to you all about, like, what is it looking like just in terms of FAN advocates, and how are they doing their jobs during distance learning? And I will tell you, in the spring, it was rough. I think it was rough for everybody. Our FAN advocates all worked from home. They did a really great job of reaching out to families by phone, by email, by text. And then we have this wonderful new phrase that we are using a lot now, and it's called drop and run. So our FAN advocates would do a lot of porch drops for our FAN families, and then text them and say, okay, I just dropped your hygiene bag on your porch, and then they're gone. So we have this new, like, okay, ring the doorbell, get back in your car, wave to the family, and then drive away. So we've tried to figure out what's a safe way for our FAN advocates to be able to serve the families and not get in an uncomfortable position with a family wanting them to come in the house. Thank you so much. Have a snack. You know, kind of how we have always had these relationships with families. So that has really been new for us with COVID. I will say, over the past several years, we have noticed the generation of families that we're working, and the generation of parents that we're working with now they're way more text savvy, and they really want to communicate initially over text. So our advocates are doing a lot more texting with families. So that has been actually a blessing about already having all of that set up before we started our COVID distance learning. I saw the question, and I'll answer that in a sec. And then the other thing is, now that we have, I was going to say settled. I don't know that anyone feels settled, but now that at least the school districts have a better process of how they're working with families, our FAN advocates have been able to do more specific work with families. They are, most of them, actually all of them, are in the schools physically in Redmond now. So the FAN advocates are in the schools. They are not having families come in, though. We're not having guests come into the school. So they're working closely with the families. They'll meet them out front. They'll leave stuff at the front door for them, those kinds of things. So we are managing pretty well with the services that we're able to provide to families, because much of what we can do, we can kind of coordinate over the phone with a quick drop off here and there. So one of the questions that came up was about the fan services at the high school. And our fan advocates, their job looks really different between the different levels. So at the elementary school level, the fan advocates are very much working with the parents alone. And oftentimes our elementary school students don't even know that the parent, you know, they're little kids. They don't quite get it, right? When there's no food in the house, they don't always understand that or even see it. So a lot of times the parents can work with the fan advocate without the child even realizing that there are issues going on. And at the middle school, it's a little bit of both. That some kids come and ask for help with fan, and then a lot of parents. At the high school, our services look a lot different. At that age, our kids know what's going on with their family. They know if they're living in poverty. They know if the heat's getting shut off. And so oftentimes our fan advocates are working with the teens, because the teen will come to the fan advocate and say, hey, my mom wanted me to come talk to you. We're going to get evicted. And then the fan advocate will work with that parent and that teen. Another thing that's really different at the high school level is we have a number of kids that are unaccompanied. I call them couch surfers. They're kids whose parents, they've either been kicked out or their parents have left town. And we've had situations where parents have said, we're moving to Portland and you're not coming. Figure out your senior year on your own. And so we have these homeless kids, and that just breaks my heart to think about, but it happens. Every year that happens. And so our fan advocates are working with those kids to figure out how can we successfully get them to graduate from high school. And that situation for a fan advocate looks really different than working with a mom of a third grader in an elementary school. So I hope that kind of answers that question around that.
Yes.
Okay, great. And another thing I wanted to talk about, just as we are reopening and opening on a hybrid, man, everybody, parents, teachers, community members, fan advocates, all have to be so flexible, because this is tricky. And just one really small example of a concern a teacher had is, some teachers have been sending home school supplies for kids to work with during this distance learning. But now that we're going to be transitioning back into hybrid at some point, they also need school supplies at school. So then we have teachers who are having to have double the school supplies for their kids. And I'll tell you, it was something I didn't even think about until recently. Well, of course, you can't expect the kids every day to bring everything back and forth. And so these are just some of those really tricky issues that we are working out honestly on a day-to-day basis to figure out how can we make sure our kids are getting the work that they need when they're at home, and then whatever those supplies are that they need to do that work are also available for them at school. The beauty of the fan advocate role is that they are flexible. They can go take stuff to people's homes. They can talk to families anytime during the day. We have incredible community partners like Kiwanis who are helping just to make those connections for family. And so their flexibility looks a lot different than a teacher who is required to be on the computer all day trying to figure out how to do distance learning with their kids. So we have been really lucky in that way. There's a question about computers and internet access. Redmond School District has been doing a really good job of getting hotspots out to kids who need them. What we have found is a lot of kids in our rural areas, their internet is not great. And I bet everybody on this call has had a point when you've been on a call and it's like, oh, am I cutting out? Am I freezing? And we all are dealing with this. And for our kids that are living in poverty, it's even harder because they might have the lowest level of internet speed. They might be in a rural area where they won't get it. So the district is looking at that in terms of internet connections. Computers are not an issue for us because they're rolling out Chromebooks for lots of our kids. And so they're really making sure that all the kids have the computer technology that they need. It's just us trying to make sure they have internet. FAN has an amazing partnership with Ben Broadband, and so we are able to get reduced internet for our families, and that's $9.95 a month, which is incredible considering how much that generally costs. So that is something that at this point of the year, we're really working to make sure families have that or are getting a hotspot through the school district. So that kind of answers that. So throw any more questions in the chat. That's kind of my overview of what it's looking like for us with the distance learning and COVID and transitioning to hybrid. I will just say every day is a new day, and new things are popping up every day with it. And with that, I want to push it over to Deb again. She's going to talk a little bit about our upcoming luncheon.
Yeah, and we're happy to continue talking about just how fan services are looking right now if you guys have more questions. But since so many of you are involved in our luncheons already, I just want to take a second and chat. Thank you. So many of you have joined us at our luncheon, been a table captain, been a sponsor, done all of it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate just how much that brings to our Redmond community. And this Redmond luncheon has really become so integral to the sustainability of fan services in Redmond. And we love our Redmond luncheon because everything that generates at that luncheon stays in Redmond. So we know, you know, it is the person who's sitting at your table's kid that has the friend or is making that connection, because now we have more awareness, and it's our friends at church. It's all over the Redmond community. We can see how fan services are really bolstering opportunities for kids and opening those doors. Because of our newfound life here, this year we're looking at quite a different model. I know we love being in the room together and shaking hands and hugging and sharing everything over a meal, but with the size that it's become, we're pretty sure that's not going to be possible in January. So we are transitioning into a more virtual luncheon fundraiser. We're really working on how to make that the most enjoyable for all of us, interactive for our community, but we are still keeping with our table captain model. And I think the best part about, especially in Redmond, having our table captains is that everybody is asking each other. We're like all so connected that then it really seems to filter through the community to make sure that anyone who's interested in joining does. But then it is like at a 12 o'clock lunch slot, which not everyone can always make it to. So now that so many of us are on completely different schedules, we really hope that we'll be able to open it up to more people who are able to join, not just only at that time frame. So we are hoping that those of you who have been table captains before will please join us again. And if there are other friends here who would be interested in being one of our table captains, you know, really what we're asking is just to reach out to your friends or family or colleagues and invite them to join our virtual event. And we'll get to know a little bit more about what that's going to look like. But I think one of the cool things about if you're a table captain and are reaching out to your friends is that's just another opportunity to talk about how Kiwanis works with our fan clients, our families, and in our Redmond community, and just how integral this partnership is. And we'd really love to be able to highlight that too. We're looking at some bright hope here. You know, our community is so incredible at supporting each other, but just as we saw, you know, it might not be just COVID that people are struggling with right now after the wildfires. You know, we know that there could be anything at any time, and the cool thing about FAN is that we're here for all kids and their families, and so that's absolutely part of the Kiwanis mission. And so if those of you who have joined us before, and I'm looking at you and have been a part of our Redmond luncheon, I will be coming to you specifically. But if you all would be, if anyone else here would be interested, and if our fan friends that have been table captains before would be interested in talking to each other about it, maybe at your upcoming mealtime, we would really appreciate your support through that, so that we can continue to provide outreach and awareness about the need that kids in Redmond have, and the partnership that you provide that makes it possible for kids to thrive. We really appreciate that, and we're so grateful for you. You can feel free to reach out to me specifically too, if you would like. I'll just pop my information in the chat, and Julie's too. who would like to reach out and have any questions. And I am hoping that some folks, maybe like Michelle or Josh, who are really dug deep into the fan family right now, would be interested in sharing their experience too. Or Amber, thank you. That would be just wonderful. I
always love to talk about fan. So, guys, I was on the board for 3 or 4 years. It was wonderful. One of the most impactful experiences my entire life. And I'm so thankful that I got to meet this group of individuals. Awesome, awesome people. And when they're talking about the virtual lunch, Julie and the crew, Deborah, and all of the board members were instrumental in one of the first virtual experiences that we had in the entire Central Oregon. I think, Julie, you were even written up about it in an article. So they do a beautiful job of the virtual luncheon. I wasn't able to attend, but of course I'll be there for the Redmond one. It's going to be really super professional, well done. And most importantly, they are going to touch the people in their hearts to let them know that there's so many kids and the need is so great, especially right now. And so anyway, I would just encourage anybody that wants to be a table captain. It's super simple. You just invite the closest people that you know would be touched by their mission. And then Deb, of course, will give us the information on how that will work virtually versus sitting in a chair. But anyway, I just would really highly recommend it. It's an incredible experience. And you get to learn so much, not just about what FAN does, but the people that are in need that we don't get to see every day. So I just highly recommend it. So that's fun.
Thank you for those
questions anybody might have.
Yeah, Earl. What?
This is Alan. I could talk. Earl?
Yes, go ahead.
This is Alan Unger. First, I'll be a table captain, so put me on the list. And second, I want to put a shout out to Julie. Julie founded FAN decades ago and is the glue that keeps it moving forward. And I've always said that FAN is the most important nonprofit that we have. As I listen to you today, I hear FAN being that group that can pick up the pieces that nobody else really does and put them together for families who have kids in school. So you touch the most important group that there is. And I just want to say also, I do the giving program, $10 a month. I think we should push that out there. It's easy to do and you just forget about it. And it's one of those things that's sustainable for FAN and really makes it happen. So thank you, Julie, for making this work.
Thanks, Alan. I love you. I was so happy to see your face today on the screen. I had another question from somebody in the chat to me about the struggle teachers are having to connect to some of the kids. So I just want to address that. What's happening is some of our teachers are trying to reach out to these families, and for whatever reason, they're not getting a response from the families. And so they have a class and there's like 3 or 4 kids in the class. And so what the schools are doing is they are working with the FAN advocates to try to figure out what is the issue with these families. And sometimes the issue is, quite honestly, the parents working and the kids are home by themselves. And that's the reality. And so we're talking about, can we get them into some childcare during the day? Can they do some sort of learning with other families? And then other issues are just that families are off the grid and maybe they've moved and they didn't tell anybody at the school district and the school district still has them. So much of what the FAN advocates are focusing on now is how to get them connected. And just check in and make sure families are still around. Another question around this was, some of our families are just struggling to figure out how their kids can go to school all day while the parents are working from home, or our kids with special needs are really struggling. And as FAN, we are trying to wrap around those families and support them where we can. But regardless of what Alan just said, we are not miracle workers. So there are certain things we are going to be able to help these families with, but this, like how to interact on the screen with a child with special needs, with a parent that is not fully engaged, is the really hard part of our job, and trying to figure out, is there ways that we can support that family or that child through this time? So I just wanted to make sure to address that, that chat that came to me. And then we don't want to blow up your whole agenda. So I want to make sure we're good on time and see if there's any other questions. We're good on time. Thanks, Earl. So any other questions that folks have for, could be completely random as well.
Hi, I was wondering, where do you get your food that is distributed? Your own food bank, another food bank?
That's a great question. We work really closely with Jericho Road, love them. And they do our weekend backpack programs. I will tell you, food has been tricky right now. How do we, if you can't see the kids at school, how do we touch it? How do we distribute it? And so we are trying to figure out ways to get that food to them. There are spots where our families can go every day to pick up free meals for their kids in the Redmond School District. But again, I think our job as FAN is to realize, like, that's great for some families, not great for all of our families. Some of our families cannot get to the high school to go pick up the food for their kids for that day. So we have, in the spring, we did a really quick pivot on how we could support families without actually seeing them face to face. And Deb developed a wonderful partnership for us at Grocery Outlet in Redmond. And so we are working with them where we have a list of families that need food, and we send that list to Grocery Outlet, and then the families can just go purchase what they need, and then they will bill us at the end of the month, which has been a really nice way to supplement the food that's already going on. There are opportunities for food. Neighbor Impact has food banks. We have the Jericho Road. There's different pieces, but this is really just a supplement for our families, because we know people can't live off food banks alone. So how else can we help support them in that way?
Other questions people might have? Good question.
I'll be a table captain.
Question, Julie,
not a question, but I'll be a table captain.
Having worked with children and families when that was around in terms of the state Commission on Children and Families, and working with a county that did much the same thing, but we have so many individual groups, and I really like what you've done. You've done a great job of putting all those groups that were otherwise out there competing with one another, as it were, in a central location, and that makes so much more sense than some of the things that I've seen in other communities. So I appreciate what you've done. Any other comments? In that case, Julie, Deborah, thank you guys, all of you, for coming and sharing with us today. And like I said, you're always welcome back. And there's always a membership application available for all of you. All righty. And remember, if you're going to go to the dinner, either by Zoom or in person, I'll let Caroline know. Before you leave, remember these words. Meaningful silence is always better than meaningless words. Have a good day.